Hi guys, welcome back to another Overthrow Disc Golf video. As always, and especially today, thank you for tuning in. You might have seen that I was on Foundation's Imposter Series. If you haven't, it is absolutely top tier content. You should go check it out. There are going to be some spoilers in this video. So if you want to see that, go watch that first, come back here. With that being said, today I want to get a little personal. I want to talk about my personal struggles. I want to talk about the state of disc golf and just my motivations around things that I do on the channel. And we're gonna throw some shots here, play some disc golf. We're at Sandusky Park here in Lynchburg. If you want to follow along on UDisc or something, I guess people do that sometimes. Let's address the elephant in some of your rooms here. I'm not a good player. I've never said that I'm a good player. I'm not shouting from the rooftops, of course, wow, I'm a garbage player, but I'm not a good player, not just by my standards, but I think probably by most people's standards. Too high. Oh well. So I've always been transparent about my inability to get into a player's mindset when I'm on the course nowadays. I'm always thinking like a coach. My putting yips, and we're definitely going to talk about that. Let me focus up here though. Welcome to the last 5 years of my life. Now, when Overthrow first started, we hadn't quite hit the peak of the COVID boom. The sentiment in disc golf regarding coaches was still that a bad player could never make a good coach, or that good players automatically made good coaches. Needs to push a little bit. So in those early years, I feel like a piece of content like this would be more of a stumbling block to people than was beneficial. So I never put any of my own play on the internet. I'm really good from a knee for some reason though, it's annoying. Now, thankfully, the sentiment has shifted over to where I feel most sports are at, because we had this influx of athletes come in and they've had coaching from other places before, so they understand that the coaching cluster skill set and the playing skill set are different. So we finally understand, okay, a good player isn't automatically a good coach, and a good coach isn't automatically a good player, vice versa, all the mixes and matches. And it doesn't mean that they're going to ace this hole. But it'd be really cool if they did. So, here I am. Bad player, good coach. It's an ironic time to say that. Now, what I'm not saying is that I'm the greatest coach in disc golf, or that, you know, I'm God's gift to disc golf coaching, because I'm not. There are lots of great coaches out there. But at this point in my career, you're just not going to convince me that I'm a bad coach. Right? Maybe you catch me a couple years ago and I'd have more doubts around that time, but I've just helped too many people at this point improve and reach their goals, whatever they've been, whether it's been distance goals, form goals, ratings goals. I've just helped too many people reach their goals for you to convince me that I'm a bad coach at this point. As weird as it might be, or as confusing as it might look, that's just the current reality. I'm not a good player, but I'm a good coach, and I'm trying to get better at both. Miss it. Woo! Get inside. Ah! Well, I got inside. Brief intermission. My wife loves mushrooms. Got a couple oysters here. These are better than flowers when I bring them to her. And here's the deal. I'm not the only one out there, right? I know a bunch of really good coaches that for whatever reason are not good players. I'm not the only coach that you know that has putting yips. Let's just put it that way. I bet you that look really good on camera. And it's really important that we cultivate good coaches in disc golf if we want the sport to continue moving forward, if we want to continue to see really awesome play, right? And if we keep perpetuating and conflating the idea that bad players are automatically bad coaches, we're going to hinder good coaches from entering the sport. It's just not going to be worth their time. It just wears on you after a while, and it's kind of a barrier to entry for a lot of guys, I think. better, just a little inside. And this video is just as much towards those coaches who might not be the best players, but know or have a really good feeling that they're good coaches and they think that they might have kind of the coaching gene, as it were. This is encouragement to you guys. Hey, go for it, right? Do it. And if anybody gives you any crap, you have my permission to just throw me under the bus and be like, well, look at that guy. He's not very good. Now, that's not to say that there's no benefit to being a good player in the coaching world. It's not like, oh, you did all that good playing, you get nothing. I mean, what a great thing to be able to relate to your players in, let's say, pressure situations. Like, you've got lead camera, pressure, money's on the line, right? You're playing in front of a bunch of people. Like, that's just such a great thing to be able to relate to with your players and help get them through and say, yeah, you know, every time I got nervous, I would short arm everything, and kind of here's what I had to work through to get through that. Now, you can learn all that stuff through books, through players' interviews. There are ways to learn that, but man, what an advantage to have learned that kind of in the crucible of playing. Stay straighter. That's not to say that you can't learn it other ways, right? You can learn that from books. You can learn that from player interviews. You can learn how players got through pressure situations without actually being in it. I think it's just way faster to learn that having gone through it. So players having gone through pressure situations might have to work a little harder if they were a little more naturally gifted when it comes to coaching technique, because they might have already had a lot of that kind of built in, especially if they started young, right? But they might have had to grind out the pressure aspects of the game and had to learn how to instruct that. So that might come a little more easily to them, whereas I had to struggle through form changes. So it's easier for me to be a little bit more technical and understand how to explain things technically. And I have to work harder to go learn the how do you get through pressure aspects of the game, which is exactly why I went on the Imposter Series in the first place. So I've been coaching disc golf for almost 4 years now, and most people see me exclusively as a form/technical coach. I'm not. I coach everything, and we're gonna talk about the shot selection on the show in a minute. I've coached players in every aspect, and believe it or not, I've helped people drastically improve their ratings. So while the majority of my focus thus far in my learning has been form driven, and I'm certainly not done learning everything I need to learn about technique, but I feel like I've learned a bunch, and I'm pivoting my personal learning and my personal growth as a coach towards more on the playing side, because there's so much more than technique. I've had the opportunity to work with guys on tour, and I want to learn more from them, and I want to coach all aspects of the game. I'm gonna devote a greater chunk of time towards that now. Well, it wasn't too much disc, it was too little arm. So when Hunter invited me on the Imposter Series, I've got 100,000 people are gonna watch that video, there's money on the line, and Brody's gonna be chirping in my ear. I mean, is there ever going to be a better opportunity for me to put myself in the shoes of the players that I want to coach on tour than that opportunity right there? There's just not gonna be another chance to experience that level of pressure. So I had to do it. Come on, baby. Ah! You hear that? Small child. So I've got to give you a little backstory before we go into the whole foundation dealio. The way I learn concepts is I go all into a concept very quickly, very deeply. I kind of overdose on a concept and take it way too far, and then I bounce off the other side. So between worlds in the filming of this series, I had been in the mindset of, okay, I just want to learn what it is to think like a champion. So I read this book by Dr. Bob Rotella called How Champions Think. I read it like 4 or 5 times. I had the opportunity to walk a practice round with Evan Smith and Joey Buckets. Was very grateful for that invite. I learned a lot. So I'm just thinking, okay, how do champions think? I just want to think like a champion. I just want to have the mindset of a champion. I just want to learn what, and it sounds kind of cheesy, but it's a different mindset. That's a little short. So we get the whole 17 during their practice round, and they both throw the same tee shot. It's like this baby flex line, which I thought, just because of how the early and late misses worked with the shot shape, that it was a slightly lower percentage than just a hyzer flip. But they both did it, and they're both great players, right? So it was really interesting. So I asked Evan, why did you both choose that shot? Because I was super interested. Get up. So Evan's response to me was, you know, I just learned that I have to look at where I want to put the disc and pick the shot that gets me there, that I know gets me there, and not be so worried about, okay, which shot is the best shot, is the absolute best shot all the time. I thought, dang, this kid's good. What a beast, right? And that's why he's, you know, top 20 in the world, right? It's such a different mindset when you listen to these guys. It's so impressive. It's so admirable, and you're like, wow, this is just an insane mindset to have, just this confidence. I mean, they both, on another hole, they both had this line where it's like, if we were looking and it was anybody else, we'd be like, okay, well, you probably need to stretch out, throw a forehand, just get some distance up the fairway. And they both do this like patent pending off the fairway through a 4-foot gap all the way up to save birdie. I was like, what? And they both did it. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. And I was like, good grief, these guys are so confident. It is just, it gets you fired up, man. It's so inspiring. There we go. Good correction. All right, so a little bit of very important background information here. Hunter, when he invited us to the show, he had to give us enough information that we could decide like, okay, yes or no, we're not gonna do it. So he gave us like kind of a vague idea of what it would be, but he didn't want to spill the beans, right? He didn't want to give us all the information. Well, turns out Mikey and I basically pieced it together. I had thought before the show that this, because I had watched the show Mole on Netflix, I thought, oh, okay, probably what happened was somebody on the foundation team watched Mole and thought this would be great as a disc golf series, because I thought the same thing. So it's like, that's probably what we're doing. And so then Hunter walks over the hill, he describes what we're doing, and I was like, oh, okay, perfect. When he said Imposter, I went, everything that I had practiced, all my tee shots, we went out and played all the course, I practiced perfectly for this. One thing I did not take into account was that it was gonna be tough shot doubles. Some of you see where I'm going with this. Okay, so hole one, I am super nervous, like more nervous than anybody else on the show, because there's a lot of pressure from the coaching, even though I know it didn't matter, there's still pressure. Oh, stay up. Oh, that was gonna be really good. So my first approach shot, if you've ever been under pressure, you've probably short-armed a shot. I wasn't too worried about it, but it definitely didn't help me calm down my nerves. And then we get to the moment you've all probably been waiting for. Hole two's tee shot. So I've got cameras in my face, I got Brody in my ear, I got a tree that is directly to the right side of the tee pad. I mean, so much pressure. And I'm in Dr. Bob Rotella mode. I've got him in my mind. It's like, okay, a wrong shot that's done confidently is better than the right shot done without confidence. The way that hole shapes up and the way that I practiced, you see my putts. I'm not gaining strokes on the putting green, right? So I have to get as many C1 and regs as possible. So I have to be kind of aggressive off the tee in my singles play in order to score. So for me, I knew for whatever reason, I practiced forehand roller. I had one finish straight, would have been an easy three, and I had one finish in the circle, right? So, and my scrambling's good enough that I can take those chances off the tee. And so if I'm thinking, okay, I have to win, you know, I'm going for that in singles play. Obviously, this is not singles play, and I would not condone this shot selection. So with that, I mustered up all the commitment I could in that moment, which was not very much. Under the circumstances, and threw the worst shot of all time. I've thrown way too many forehand rollers on that hole, and I've never had that result. Oh, that's crushed. Help me. Listen to what I'm saying here. I am not defending my forehand roller as the right shot selection. It's not. Okay, I would not coach a student to do that. But I trained it, right? And there's kind of a mantra when it comes to playing well, it's train it and trust it, right? So that's what I had trained. I wasn't gonna get any actual help in that moment. So I had to find confidence from somewhere. So I had to just stick with what I did, even though it wasn't ideal. I had to stick with what I practiced. I had to go with that, right? Or I felt that I had to go with that in that moment. And if there's a player that I'm coaching that has practiced something with good success, and that's what they're confident in, I'm not switching it day of. Ideally, you'd have more confidence in a higher percentage shot. Of course, that would be ideal, but I wouldn't blame a student for doing something confidently. I look like Evan Smith there. If you're under pressure, what is a good coach going to tell you to do? They're going to tell you to get into your pre-shot routine. Get into your routines. You have got to get into your routines if you're going to have a chance of executing. So I got into my routine, found my aim point, got the tree on the right out of my mind, and I'm telling myself, commit, commit, commit. Little pep talk, right? Come back, add a couple deep breaths because my heart rate is through the roof right now. Couple deep breaths. Now, after that, I was able to build on that confidence moving forward and threw a lot of really good shots after that. Now, my putting, on the other hand, is a completely different story. And we don't have enough time in this video to address that. Okay guys, so that's a lot of words. I just wanted you guys to hear what kind of my heart was, my motive was behind what I'm doing, because I'm gonna play more tournaments. I'm gonna take every avenue I can to learn how to be a better coach in the performance aspect of the game. And I talk to pros, and there's a lot of information, there's a lot of their mindset. These guys are playing at a crazy high level, right? And I get to rub shoulders with these guys and I get to talk to them. And I'd like to share some of that with you. So if you are interested in that type of content, interested in this type of content, leave a comment down below. If you don't really care for it, leave a comment down below. And if you think I'm an awful coach, if you would take all of those comments and put them on one comment thread so I can ignore them all at one time, that'd be greatly appreciated. All right, let's play these last two holes here. That needs to stay in bounds. It did? Yeah, it's good. Ooh. It's a little low. It's a lot of trust in that man right there. Come on, baby. Woo! Okay, well, let's close out here, right? And on a high note. All right, guys, that's it for today's video. I do private lessons, and there's a pretty good chance that I could help you improve and reach your disc golf goals. Of course, there's never a guarantee, but I'm fairly confident, if that means anything. If you're interested in private lessons, we've got some of our new Patreon tiers rolling out that are really high value for those of you getting after it. Until next time, peace.